And if you're understanding the ASP.NET Core application, so everything is start here from the program.cs file containing the main method. So we don't have here global.asx file. We don't have here the web.config file. These files are not available in ASP.NET Core. It's having a startup class in place of global.asx, and in place of web.config file, it's containing a JSON file where you can put the app setting for your application. So here we don't have module and handler. In place of module and handler, we have the middleware. So you can use middleware for doing the same thing as we do using the module and handler. Even it does not have the dependency on the IaaS because it's using the cross-platform Castrail web server for running your application on different platform like Linux, Ubuntu, Windows. So you can use here one of the web server here, like you can use Apache Tomcat, you can use IaaS, you can use Nginx for deploying the application. And if you will see here in ASP.NET Core, actually, if you are comparing it with MVC5, in MVC5, we have the separate controller for MVC and the web API. But here we have the same controller in MVC, action, filter, model binding, routing, attributes. So everything is shared here. But in MVC5 and web API 2, we have the things different. Even the web API is having the different pipeline there. But here the pipeline is exactly same. And in fact, ASP.NET Core is a console application. So in the console application, we have the Castrail web server for handling the request and response, and internally what the application logic you have written for logging, configuration, HTML generation, static files. So the all the things are going to be served here by the Castrail web server. And this is the diagram. If you are comparing it with the traditional ASP.NET web form here, so there is a difference here. So in the web form, even in MVC5, we have the global.asx where we have the different method, let's say begin request, authenticate request, and there we have the dependency only on IaaS. But here you can use any web server. It might be IaaS, it might be Apache Tomcat, it might be Nginx, and internally it's using the Castrail web server. So now let's see what are the new features are available from ASP.NET Core 2.0. So like we have new Razor pages. It's having the unified ASP.NET Core reference. So now we have only one package here. It simplified the application host configuration. And we have here the consistent middleware configuration. It's having the support for Visual Basic. It's having the expanded operating system support. And it's having the .NET Standard 2.0 with extended API support here. So these are the features here introduced with 2.0. And here we have the automatic page and view compilation as well on publish. So when you will publish your ASP.NET Core application, so all the CSS/HTML file automatically compile here. Now let's see what are the ASP.NET Core 2.1 features. Support for SignalR. HTTPS is now here by default because everywhere if you will see all the websites are having now HTTPS like certificate there. And UI you can use as a library as well. So we have the UI library. Swagger support is available here. We have the support for webhooks, and for HTTP client we have the now better support here. And even the project template they have upgraded to meet the general data protection regulation. Yes, session we have here. Session you can use as we use in MVC5. So let me quickly create a ASP.NET Core 2.1 application so that you have the better idea. So make sure you have installed the Visual Studio 2017 on your machine. And here I'm just creating my application. So what I'm doing here, I'm just creating a new project. So in the project we have for .NET Core, just select here ASP.NET Core web application. Then mention the application name. It will be here web app core. Specify the location. As a location, let's say I'm using here code then it's weekend. I'm selecting the weekend folder. So this is my application name, web app core. I'm mentioning. Click on the OK button, and these are the available templates you can use for creating different types of application. So we have the empty template as well with the ASP.NET Core. This is the API template. If you want to create the API project with a default RESTful service. Blazor you will not find there. Actually, for Blazor I have installed a extension. That's why I'm getting the Blazor here. Blazor is right now in experimental phase for building the single page application. So Blazor you will not get, you will get only this web application. So this is the option here for creating the web application using the ASP.NET Core. And here it's following the MVC pattern. This is a template for creating it using the Angular. This is for React.js. This is for React with Redux. And this is here for creating the class library. As can create the library here for DLL. Same we can create here for UI as well. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to start with the MVC one so that you have the idea like how the folders are going to be arranged in our ASP.NET Core application, and we can compare it with ASP.NET MVC5 as well. So it's created the project for us. So if you will see here, we have the controllers folder having the home controller, and before the controller we have www root. So this www root folder in ASP.NET Core is for containing the static files. So like we have JSS, CSS, images. So all these things we can put in www root folder here. We have the models folder as well. In the models folder we have all the view models you can create here, like login view model, user sign up view model, where we can apply the validation here. And in the views folder we have all the CSS.html file, like we have the CSS.html file as we have the action in our home controller. So here index action is going to map with index.csshtml about with about.csshtml. And even if you will see at the view folder label, we don't have any web.config because in MVC5 we have a web.config at the view folder label. So in place of that web.config, here we have underscore view import file. So what are the things you want to share across the application, that's just mention on this underscore view imports.csshtml file. There is underscore view start file as well, where we can mention the layout reference. Like here we can mention the condition as well, like based upon the condition which layout we will render here, we can mention in underscore view start. And here we have app setting.json file. So whatever the app setting key, connection string we define in web.config, we can mention here in app settings.json file. And here we have the program.cs file. So you can see there is a public static void main method. So it is a console application if you will see. And here in the console application, we are just creating the web host builder so that we can host our application. So as we have the self-hosting, same behaving like this way here. And in place of global.asx, we have the startup.cs file. So this file is having two methods. So one method is here for configure services and another one is here configure. So in the configure service method, we add all the dependencies for our application, which you are planning to use in your ASP.NET Core pipeline. So here we will add the MVC if you want to use MVC. Here we will add the session if you want to use session. Here we will add the entity framework core database context things if we want to use here the entity framework core. And whatever the settings you have added to the configure service, we have to configure here. So here if we want to use MVC, so for MVC just define a root. If you want to use here cookies, so for cookies just use here cookies. And if you want to serve the file from this www root folder, so there is a method here, use static files method. So this method is mandatory if you want to serve the file from this www root folder. And here by default we are using here HTTPS redirection. So if you are requesting a URL like http then domain.com, it will redirect us to https then domain.